Hey, welcome to Rouse's Rants, a little bit of ranting for your soul on today. I thank each and every one of you guys for tuning in on this Monday for a little bit of ranting that will save your soul. Welcome to Rouse's Rants. I thank each and every one of you guys for always tuning in. I thank you for the growth in our community. I thank you that we can come together to worship together and do great things for God together. Today is going to be a little bit different than what we would normally have. I have a panel of guests, and we're going to talk about both of my books. We're going to talk about me being living shackled and me being shackled, and the different questions that other people may have as they have read the books. I'm giving each and every one an opportunity to come to me and ask me those questions as we move forward. So if you haven't read the books, it might be a spoiler alert for some of you guys based on the questions that people will ask. But if you do want to still read because it intrigues your mind, I ask that you continue to look down in the description box. You can see the different shirts that I wear. Today you can't see because we have a panel of guests, but I have on a God is Dope shirt. I always wear t-shirts, and down in the description box, if you like electronic books, paperback or hardback, and wherever you decide to shop, you can look in the links below and you can click those links and you'll have the opportunity to purchase the books. And so let's get started. You know how we do in this community. The first thing first, we go to the scriptures, and I'm going to read to you my favorite scripture, which is Romans 12:1-2. And it says, I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your body a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And do not be conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you can do what God has created you to do, in my own words, and acceptable and pleasing to him, which is your reasonable service. And so welcome to the channel today. Again, we have a panel of guests, and we're just going to get right to the questions because we're on Zoom today and you only get a little bit of time. So if we have to click out and click back in, we'll be doing that for you as well. So the first person I'm going to call on to ask me a question is Denise. Denise, give me your number one question that you have that you want to ask me. And don't forget to come off mute.
Yes, that's what I was doing. So after reading your books, and I reread the second one today, wonderful book. What would you go back and tell your younger self, if you could? What would you go back and tell her? Would you warn her, or would you let her experience what she needed to experience to be the woman you are today?
I would let her experience it because I think it has created a different outlook on life for me. Walking through it, when I'm going through it, it was such a horrible experience for sure. But to know myself on the other side, there is no regrets that I have now. Then I had a lot of them. So I would go back and tell my younger self that there is a prize on the other side. If you continue to walk this out, God does have a plan. And I didn't know God back then. So to be who I am now, not that I'm perfect, because I'm not saying that, but I look at life in a different light now. I have a different lens that I see. So thank you, Denise. That's a great one. Let's go to Trenton.
I ain't got no questions. I don't know why I'm even on here.
Come on, bro.
I said, let me see. Do you think the way your mom treated you affected your relationship with people in general?
Yes, absolutely, I do. I still second guess every relationship that I have with a person. I'm always thinking that there is for another motive, or that they're seeking after something from me that I have. And it takes a weight in my mind for me to say, they just want to be your friend because they like you as an individual. They're not looking for you for anything. They just want to know you and know what you stand for. So yes, absolutely. That's a great question. Thank you so much. Let's go to Mindy.
Hi, Raz.
Hi.
So as I was reading both books, you know, I just loved your books. And one question that always came to my mind was, how did God first start putting the idea in you to write these books? And what was that journey like? Because I know that had to be very difficult to put your personal story out there. And God can be very convincing.
Mm-hmm. For me, it was hard. It was maybe 5 or 6 years prior to writing the book that God started showing me I needed to tell my story to help other people. Now, I have always journaled. Journaling has been something that helped closure and helped me release because I needed to get it off of my own shoulders. And as I started to write those books, each one, the first one actually took me through a roller coaster ride is what I'm going to say. And things that I thought happened at certain times in my life, when I started to realize how old I actually was because I was writing them as they happened, and I actually could feel myself going through each chapter as I wrote it. And then realizing how old I was when I was molested, and those different things took me for a ride. And literally, every Sunday when I went to church, I laid on the altar and I cried out to God because it was hard. It was hard to tell my story. And then after the first manuscript was done and I submitted it, I went through a different phase of, oh my God, everyone's going to know my business and I'm getting ready to release it to the world. And it wasn't that it was people that knew me. I was thinking about the other people that were going to read it and what would they think about me as an individual person. It was a hard space, Mindy. And it took 2 years for me to get past writing the first one. And then I was already writing the second one. So I had to go through it again. It was such the hard experience for me. Deliverance. And renewing was what it gave to me. A lot of deliverance. I literally every Sunday was on the altar laying with my face in the carpet because I needed that. It was hard. It was definitely hard. Definitely hard. And now I'm going to go down to Corey Pryor.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, so you're kind of on the question already that I was going to ask,
Mhm.
because I know that you did journal,
Mhm.
and that's good. But to become an author, because you could have done so many other ways. I believe that you were ordained minister before you actually became an author, and so why not just go around and tell your story, your testimony that way? Why did you decide to actually put it in book form that people would get it and have it forever?
Some people I would not be able to touch where I live. And there are a lot of women that go through what I went through and won't ever say anything. There was a lady in Texas, in all honesty, who read my book, reached out to me on Facebook. She's 70 years old. She was molested by all of her brothers, and it gave her the opportunity to speak her truth and to get deliverance herself. And she said she would have never told it if she would have never read my manuscripts. It was never something she wanted to talk about, and she wanted to keep it secretive. And she said if she could have told her story years ago, her path with God could have been different, because she still held that bondage of each and every one of her brothers molesting her. And there were 5 of them. There were 5 of them. Yeah. And now I'm going to go to Nikki.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. So my question is when did you first learn that you were living shackled?
Ooh. Me and Tim were in our 3rd year of marriage is when I realized that I was living shackled. When Tim and I first got married, every weekend I moved out. I didn't want to do it anymore. And it wasn't until one day he was playing with me, and we were in our little hallway, and he kept acting like he was going to hit me. He wasn't going to hit me. He was playing. And it rose something up in me. And it put me in a different space of thinking. And my goal, while I was backed in the corner, even though he was playing, to me, he wasn't. And I was going to come out of that corner, and hopefully he was strong enough to keep me from hurting him, because I felt like he was attacking me. And it wasn't until that moment that I realized that I still had triggers and I still had things that I needed to overcome. Even though I was saved and I was trying to walk this thing out for God, I still had pieces of myself, my old self, that followed me into my adult life that I needed to release in order to move forward for God, to move forward for my children, and to move forward for my husband, or I was going to wreck us. Great question. Joshua.
Hello.
Hi.
So, as you know, you encountered a lot of different people in your books, no matter if it was positive or negative. And this is sort of along the lines of, dealing with some of the negative aspects. And I'm just curious to know, what do you think is the hardest part of forgiveness, and what would you recommend somebody do to effectively work on forgiving others?
Woo. Forgiveness is something that is very hard to do. And it doesn't matter if they are relatives, it doesn't matter if they're friends, it doesn't matter what they are. For me, this is me. Each day, find yourself asking yourself, what made that particular thing happen? Forgiveness is never for yourself, it's for that actual person, and for people to see that you can get past whatever it is that you went through. So you have to find yourself reevaluating that actual incident. Sometimes for me to forgive somebody, it takes me a second. It takes me a long second, because I always go back, like I said, to things that happened to me in my past. Those things don't go away. And there's a lot of different things that I didn't even talk about in the books. The book probably would have been too heavy for anyone to carry to read it. So for me, forgiveness takes a long period of time, and I have to reevaluate myself, the situation, and the circumstances. And so what I would tell someone is to forgive them automatically. Don't even take yourself through the process of thinking about why they said it, right? Because the longer you think about it, the more you dwell on it, the more that you allow for it to be embedded, and it takes you a longer time to get past that circumstance. So automatically forgive them, because it's for them anyways to forgive. And they may not even realize that they've hurt you in that magnitude or in that situation. It could just be the way that they speak. It could be the way that they talk. It could be the way that they move. So you have to find yourself automatically forgiving them, even if you don't say it. Even if you don't say it.
Great answer.
Thank you, sir. Let's go to Mindy.
I'm glad to see you have a couple of your kids on here, because my second question really was about your kids.
Okay.
And the reason that I had a question about your kids was because I have been through some different difficult things, but some difficult things in our lives that definitely affected our children. And so that was my question. Some of your kids will remember part of your life and walked that with you. And so I am curious as to how that has affected their lives, and then how did that affect their spiritual life?
I have two of my sons on here. Do you guys want to answer that question? You guys can answer it better than me.
That question was for you, bruh.
I'll answer. I'll throw you an answer out there.
Okay.
Just from witnessing the parts that I was able to see was the relationship between my father and her, and when they got married, and then all of a sudden you see a divorce on the potentially happening. And what I'll say from my view of that entire situation is to kind of look back from now all the way back to then, is, you know, you're dealing with some strong people, period.
Wow.
You're dealing with some very, very strong people, because being in the midst of all of that and watching, you know, the split happen right before your eyes, and realizing at that moment, like, yeah, there ain't no way to mend this back. But then when you fast forward 20 some years and you look back and see, yeah, these people are very, very strong spiritual Christian people. So just to kind of give you that insight, it just makes you realize that if your parents can give you a prime example of exactly what they went through and the depths of what they had to go through to get through, you can see that you yourself should probably be able to go through some things and make it out on the other end.
Wow.
I can't give no better answer than that.
Wow.
But I've seen it from both sides too, because Josh was on the other side of it, and I was on the other side. My mom moved out, I moved with her.
Right.
Josh was with Timmy. So yeah, I definitely see him as strong people at the end, but going through it, I'm the oldest of my mom's child to live with her. So I have to be kind of like a rock, so to speak. So when I get to the position, and then Timmy comes back and take it back. So now I'm like, what do I do? You know, I mean, that's his position though. It's rightfully his, he earned it. But so with me, it caused a lot of ups and downs in my attitude, my adjustments with years old, you know what I mean? So, but going through it, it was, I didn't know what to think, how to see it, or any of that.
Great answers.
Thank you. Oh, let's go down to Nikki. I got to get used to Nikki.
That's all right. A name change is coming soon. Mindy kind of touched on my second question, and that was, how difficult was it for you to write your personal experience on paper for the world to view?
For me, I know God was calling me to do it, and I needed to do it. And God had showed me that I was going to reach people that I didn't even know that I would have the opportunity to reach if I would write it in a manuscript and if I would have it published. And I've seen that. So hard, more than you can imagine. Getting ready to write the third one has been the toll on me as well, because it's the lost scroll. So now I have to, I'm saying have the opportunity to do what God has called me to do, but I have to dig a little bit deeper because there's somebody that I'm not reaching. So I'm going to do exactly what God has told me to do. Hard is not even a word to put what I feel about it. My son Josh, who is at the bottom, he is a leader for RPI, and he pushes me and he's like, hey, we're still waiting on that third one. I'm like, yeah, I'm waiting for my fingers to start typing it. So it's hard. It's hard to relive your life every single time you put it on paper, because there's no lies there. And then the pieces that God is opening me up to tell the world about, I know it's going to help release somebody else. I know that it's helping me with the deliverance of it. Even though I'm 50 years old, there's still deliverance that has to take place from the walks that I walked prior to getting here. So it's hard. So the third one is taking longer because it's so hard. So I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Let's go to Denise again.
Okay, I actually just told my husband that Nikki took my question. I don't know what else to ask.
Sorry.
That's okay. I'll come back to you. I'll give you another second.
Okay.
Let's go to Trenton. Trenton, I'll get your second one.
I need charges for that. I'm charging for this. I'm just letting you know right now. a feature price because your YouTube is gonna blow up after this. So my question to you is, after all the abuse that the men in your book put you through, what made you stay with the ones that you stayed around, or want to feel wanted by guys who clearly was abusing you mentally and physically?
When you're in an abusive relationship, you don't stay because of the love, you stay because of the fear. And it's when you can find yourself getting out of it before it's too late. The first time that a man hits you is the hardest time that will ever be, because he doesn't know how you're going to receive that first hit or that first punch or that first smack. If they hit you once, note they are going to do it again. And every time after that becomes an easier hit because you stayed the first time. So staying was not because of love. It was a fear, total fear.
Great point.
Yeah. But you don't think, like, out of fear or the mother bear instinct, you know your kids are seeing this, you don't think like, oh, I gotta get away from this guy after the first hit, the first blow? Because looking back on it, it could have played a part in attitude changes in some of your kids, and it could have not. You know, like me personally, I would never in my life hit a female because of the things I've seen, and because how I've seen how you reacted and the things that was happening behind it. And I definitely wouldn't feel good hitting a female either. That's the biggest one. But I mean, do you didn't think that would be like a biggest reason of you to be like, yeah, I got to get out of here. My kids, my sons, because you got all boys. My boys can't see this.
When I was married to my youngest son's father, yes, it was such a reality. And if you're okay, I'm just going to say, are you okay? He had not only, are you okay? He not only, okay, he not only abused me, but he abused my sons. And I came home from the hospital when my youngest son was born. He had to stay in the hospital for 2 weeks because he only weighed 3 pounds. And I came home, and my middle son and Trenton both were covered with bruises all over their back. And Jordan had 2 black eyes. And I kept on asking them what happened to them. And then Jordan finally told me that my youngest son's dad had punched him in his face, and he punched him in the face because he received a birthday gift from his actual dad. And at that point, and at that moment, I knew that I needed to do something different with my life, and I needed to be free from this situation. And he would tell me every day that he was going to kill me, because after this relationship, it was the last one that I would ever be in, and I would die in it. And the only way that my grandmother would be able to tell who I was by my dental records, because my face recognition would not be there. So that's the moment. That's the moment.
To lighten it up a little bit, I see the ladies getting disturbed. So to lighten it up a little bit, I deserve my whoop. I squirted the light bulb with a water gun. I deserve. Okay.
Good one, Trent. Good one. Yeah. So what for my kids, I wish that they could have had a different life, but each one of my kids now, to look at them now as men, there's some things that they will never do. There's some things or walks that they have been through that I wish that they didn't walk, but to see them as strong individuals, each one of them that are on the channel right now, they've seen different parts of me. They've seen different parts of me as I grew in Christ, as I changed. So I think that gave them the opportunity to see that there is light on the other side. For Trent and for my other son that is not present on the call, they walked a hard life because they walked that life with me. But deliverance has come, and we're in a different space. And I think I am down to Corey.
All right, so many good questions and answers, for real. One that's really off the record. Trenton, when you writing your book?
Right.
You got a story, man. You got a story.
For real though.
Yeah.
I I write it in my music.
Yeah, I know.
It might be it might be a few more cuss words in it than you might like, but it's in them. No, I might, man. I thought about it.
That's good. Your mom got the skills. She can help you out, you know. And there's a couple of things I do know, and this before I say my question, Rosalind, is that I do know when you wrote this book, going kind of off what Mindy first asked, going off when you wrote your book, I know for a fact that when you wrote your first manuscript, you got with your family, and they were the first ones to read anything before it went to print. Am I correct, right? Because you want to make sure I'm revealing a lot of stuff, and you want to make sure how they felt because this is about to happen. But either way, that's not my question. I heard authors, when they do put their things in writing, that somehow, some way, that it usually becomes some kind of therapeutic session for them. And do you find this therapeutic, not just because you put it out there, but is it really helping you emotionally, spiritually, physically, by blah? I mean, you just laying it all out there.
For me, it helped me face my reality, because there were a lot of things that I either wrote down and released and no longer thought about them, or they were no longer there. My first one, Shackled, was the one that helped me thank God more for deliverance, thank God for freedom, thank God, and thanking God for overcoming, because I went step by step, and some things that I may have forgotten about or allowed for it to be blocked out came back. I went through a walk as I started to write that manuscript of my mother's life and my grandmother's life every night that I went to sleep. It was like the Scrooge movie where he took the man and took him to the past, the present, and the future. I saw each one of their lives of stuff that I didn't even know about. God took me through a walk of their life where I was the one that broke the generational curses that took place in each one of their lives. My mom, my grandmother, not speaking their stories, they went through similar situations that I went through. And I had the opportunity to ask my mom about it, and she shook her head yes, never said yes, but shook her head yes. So not only did it help me therapeutically, it helped me realize and to see my mom and my grandmother in a different light, because I always wondered why they allowed for men to abuse them too. And it was a generational curse that was able to be broken.
Good. Thank you.
And then down to Josh.
All right. So, as you know, we're all going through an unprecedented time, 100-year pandemic. People lost jobs, incomes, family members, all types of stuff, just going through pure, in some cases, hell for some people. And I would like to know, what kind of advice would you give to someone who has ambitions, dreams, and goals, but don't quite know where to start? As we know, RPI stands for Rosalind Pryor's Inspirations.
I would say, write down your plan. I am the biggest journal. Don't find yourself just jumping into something without doing your research. Know what you're getting yourself into. Write down what it is that you're thinking that you may want to do, and then create a plan to go on it. That's going to help you and help you set your opportunities, and never sell yourself short. Everyone has a story. Everyone has a vision. God has created all of us for his workmanship and to do what he has called for us to do. And you making the decision not to do what your God's gift is, you're hindering someone else from moving forward in their own God-given gift. So you have to find yourself doing exactly what God has created you to do, and find yourself doing it wholeheartedly. And the way that you do that is by writing it down. You make the vision, make it plain, find yourself doing it step by step. And when it gets hard, don't stop, keep moving forward.
Great answer. I love that. Thank you.
You're welcome. And Denise, I'm coming back to you. Did you have another question? No?
No, I don't. You're amazing. And, your story in and of itself is really amazing. I mean, I've met you and I know you're an amazing woman. I guess I do have, you said that you let the kids read the stories before you put it out. Did any of what you wrote help with their healing process?
Go ahead, Josh.
I was just gonna say, it was for me, and again, I'm on a different view than what, you know, her biological children had, but just from me reading a lot of it, I didn't know. A lot of it, I had no clue, no idea. I mean, I knew snippets here and there, a couple of different instances, but I didn't know. She's always said for years that she could write a book, but I didn't know that the book could be, you know, as revealing as it was. And so for me, just to kind of, that completed the, you know, Roz for me. This is the deep. I know Roz is on the positive side. I know all the smiles and everything else, but I don't really know the deep history of Roz and you know what she went through. So from my view, just to kind of read that, it kind of completed who you know, just the type of person she is, the type of person I look up to, and along with her and my father, just, you know, reading it there, asking them questions, and, you know, hearing her raw answers straight from her. It was just, you know, it was an experience. It was a good experience. I'll just say that it definitely completed the picture for me on, you know, how her life and what she went through.
Trent?
I'm sorry, I was on the call. I didn't hear not a question at all.
Mute.
All right, wait. What you ask me?
How did the
I'm
book
making
help
this
heal you?
podcast better, man. Look, I got everybody laughing.
For you reading the, so for Trenton, he'll be a guest on our YouTube. I'm not going to tell you his walk until he comes on. He's going to reveal it. He didn't have the same opportunity to read the manuscript before it went published. He had to read it where he was at. And so he didn't get a chance to say yes or no to it being published. So when you read it from where you were, how was that for you, Trent?
I pretty much, besides the childhood part of it, I pretty much remember all of that. You know, I got a good memory. So I remember most of it, but as like a lot of the childhood part, I didn't know, and a lot I did know because I grew up with you, basically. So I mean, like, it was just a refresher course kind of for me. I didn't feel no type of way or none of that.
Okay. So for my husband, he's not, he's recording, but one of his questions where we had the opportunity, me, him, and my son, Josh, we went back to where I grew up in Illinois, and we were going through the different places that I either stayed as a runaway, and I was showing them some of the buildings. So we're going to do footage. We're going to go down there and do footage of where my walk. So that's going to be coming. Stay tuned for that. But one of the questions, I know you guys probably have the same question. As soon as we entered into the city, my husband said, "So where does that guy live that drove that blue Cadillac?" And I said, "I am not telling you. I am not. We're going to stay saved after these manuscripts. So where is a guy? Where does he live?" So so it was fun. It was a joke. I can laugh at it now, but yeah, that was his whole deal. And so I'm gonna go back to Corey for his question.
Did he stay next door, Roz? No, messing with you. But going back through your books, and looking at it, I know you had answered that. I think Trent asked, and you said you stayed with him not because of love, but because of fear. But I'm looking at the men in your life, and even the family members and the women, both throughout both books. You had a trusting nature. Where did you get that from, that you were just so willing to trust people? And when they had people had let you down multiple times,
Yeah.
where did that trusting part come from?
I tried my best to treat everyone as an individual, but if you hurt me, that's different. If you hurt me, that's different, because I will give you every opportunity for me to trust you. But the first time that you hurt me, it takes me a long time to come back. Long time. Long time to come back. That's a hard place to be. I love hard, and I love you from the beginning. But if you do something to hurt me, it's a very hard space. My son Jordan is making it in. He was having a hard time. I'll let him ask his question. So if he had the opportunity to read the manuscript first. Can you hear me, Jordan?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the questions that one of the ladies asked, you might want to mute until you start to speak, because it's going to give us a little backlash ringing. Were you reading the manuscript at the first time, reading Shackled? How did it make you feel as a son?
Me reading it,
Mhm.
it was real informative. It was kind of, some stuff was shocking a little, but a lot of stuff I didn't know, and most of the stuff I knew. So I don't know, it felt in a lot of blanks.
Mhm. How long did it take you to read it?
Like a day and a half or 2 days,
Mhm.
something like that.
Mhm.
Wasn't long at all.
Yeah. Question that you have for me, give you an opportunity to ask your question. He's my middle son.
The question that I had was, coming from where you came from and being where you are now and all the experiences you've been through, what is some advice you would give to females in that same situation that you were going through? And is it a way around it or a way out for them?
Yes.
What happened to go through all those obstacles?
Yes. And what I would say is take every opportunity to find yourself in a better space. Sometimes you do have an opportunity to get out. And when that opportunity presents itself, make sure you take it and don't second guess yourself, and do it immediately. There's always a way out for each and every person that goes through something. Could you go into a relationship or a circumstance always thinking about it as a positive outcome for your life? As soon as you see that it's a negative situation, try to reinforce positivity there and find yourself in a different space. And like I said before, if a man hits you the first time, that's the hardest time. Every time after that becomes an easier space. So find yourself getting out before it's too late.
Right. Okay.
Did you have another question?
No, you answered. You answered both of the questions.
Okay.
That was
right.
it.
All right. And then could I get you to mute, love?
Yeah.
All right. All right. He's my middle son. So him and Josh, they had the opportunity to read the manuscript before it went. They actually helped me critique some of my misspellings that I had in it. And they were such the troopers, even though it may have been a hard read for them, being their mom. And we don't do step in our house. So that's why Josh doesn't say stepmom. We don't do step. We're all one family. They're all our kids. We are one whole family, and our grandkids are all our grandkids. So we don't do step. That's why you don't hear them saying it. But I know it was hard for them because every day they would come here, and Josh and Jordan both finished the manuscript reading it in the raw form in 2 days. So I know it was a hard thing for them to read, especially reading some of the things that they saw in the first one. And I think it gave them opportunity to see why I may have been hard in different areas, because I never wanted my children or my grandchildren to continue to go through the things that I went through as a child. And I always wanted better for them. And I pushed them a little bit harder, and they might have got spankings when they thought they shouldn't have got spankings, but I wanted them to be I wanted them to be different. And the reason why Jordan is laughing, every night before Tim and I got married, the boys, they all got a bath from coming outside to play. They got a spanking and they went to bed. And I wasn't going to go back upstairs and spank them later. So we just got it. We got it out. We got
No,
it
I didn't
out.
deserve those ones though. I didn't deserve those ones.
We got it out of the way. They got a bath, a spanking because they were already naked. I whooped their butt, and then they got lotioned up, got their teeth brushed in their pajamas. Sorry, guys. Oh my God. All right. Corey, you had another question.
No, no. I don't know if you're ready for this question. This
Come on,
is this is the real today. You know, in that book, you didn't mention names. You gave everybody handles and different things. And for those of us who don't know, we will never know. We will never know who these people are. Apparently, we're living in a time of where people are going back 30, 40 years and bringing out the names of people of the past. You in your book, we heard your hurt. We read your hurt. We saw the pain. We felt for you. We wanted to go fight for you. You know, I want to go roll up on Blue Cadillac. You know, I want to go because I know you.
Yeah.
Did you ever have that thought process? You know, I'm not saying these people are wrong for doing it, but did you ever have a thought process that I'm going to go expose every one of these people for who they are and what they did? Because some of them actually did. You know, you were underage in some of these situations, and did you ever have that thought that I want to go back and just mess up their whole life?
No, want me to tell you why? They messed their own lives up based on continuing to do the things that they did. When I wrote my manuscripts, it was to heal other people and for people to see that there is a way out. And it wasn't for me to take an opportunity to bash someone else. I wanted somebody else to become an overcomer. I didn't graduate from high school. I got my GED in my 20s when I came back here.
We
And I had
graduated together.
say it again, Josh.
We graduated together.
We graduated together. We got our bachelor's together. And then I got my master's. And so it wasn't to bash people. It was to help other people overcome, and to each their own. If they want to tell their story 30 years later and call people out on blast, maybe they're doing it for all the wrong reasons in my thought process. Because there's people that I could expose and why. The person that molested me, he's in prison right now for a lifetime. He's in prison for a lifetime for doing the same thing to another girl. The guy that drove a blue Cadillac, he's missing one eye because of the things that he's done. So they created their own atmosphere. And the Bible tells me that revenge is mine, saith the Lord. And I'm not wishing anything bad on anybody. You create your own atmosphere. If you believe in karma or reaping and sowing, it's going to come back on you. If you do good, good's going to follow. If you do bad, bad's going to follow. So you choose which way you want to take, the narrow path or the broad path. And there's light at each tunnel.
And just to kind of follow up on that, I was able to, and I know time's running thin, but I'm going to be real quick. So the prior to COVID, we got a chance to go to many different events and display RPI. And I got to see firsthand some of these women walk up in tears and, you know, shaking her hand and, you know, please call me, please email me, please text me. And it was a way for her to connect with people she don't even know, never knew, and help them get through wherever they were at. Because she literally met them where they were at physically and mentally. And some of these women walked up, told their stories, and they exchanged information, hugs, and, you know, everything else. And it's like, we never knew the lady. Just to kind of, you know, piggyback on that, Corey was saying about, did you feel vengeful? I could see she felt like she was really reaching another group of individuals who were going through what she was going through. And we, you know, probably, like I said, prior to COVID, we met a ton of people, and she was able to, you know, share a story with them, and they shared information and things like that. So she definitely had an effect on other people more so than what I think during that moment herself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I weep for them because they're still going through it and they don't know a way. They don't know a way out. So I got a question for the panel. If no one else have any questions for me, because our time is running low. Did you have another question, Corey, for me?
Real short, real short.
Do it.
Josh said that, a lot of women. Have you had any feedback from men besides your immediate family? Did you have any feedback from men that may have read your book and learned some things?
Yes. So I met a gentleman that went through exactly the same thing I went through, and he was molested by his aunt. And he's still trying to overcome it. And when you open yourself up and you are comfortable doing it, not comfortable to where you don't feel something, but comfortable by telling your testimony, you never know who is waiting to hear it. It doesn't have to be a woman. It could be a man. And I met a man. He was molested at the age of 12 by his aunt. And he's reading all of the manuscripts and he reaches out. And it's a hard space for a man because you're asked to do something that you're going to, it's different for a man, I believe, because men think they're stronger. And so to find yourself in your weakest point and being molested that way, it's got to be different. It's got to be different. Yeah. No more questions. Got a question for you guys. I'm going to ask this to Nikki, Denise, and Mindy. If you were to say one thing about the book to the viewers that are watching on YouTube, what would you say?
You're so brave. That's what I would say. If you want to read a book about an amazing, brave woman, this is the book. To know, so for us, because we know you, it definitely has a different effect to read about your life. But to see where you are now, to work with you and know how respected you are in the workplace and where you've come, where you are now, it is amazing. As a matter of fact, my 14-year-old granddaughter is going to read them. I just feel like it will inspire her to see the strength of a woman who shouldn't have that strength based on your past and where you came from and how God really works in all of us. We just have to listen, right? And watch for him. And we do have to put action towards that. But if we do, he can do amazing things that you never would have believed. Like you said, Roz, breaking that generational curse. Not very many people get the opportunity to do that. And if they do get the opportunity, they don't see it or don't have the strength to take that opportunity. So read these books.
Denise.
So I have actually given the first book to my sister, and she'll get the second book. You are a very strong woman. And like she said, to meet you in person and to reconcile what had happened with you. But I will tell you, this first book, learning about you as a child, was very hard. I told you I yelled at you a few times in the book. The second book I found very spiritual, and I enjoyed your journey in how you grew with God. That journey was amazing. Where in the first book I yelled at you and laughed and cried, this book was a lot of tears, but it was tears because it was so beautiful and moving. And some of the scriptures you put in there were amazing. You're an amazing woman. I've told my sister to read the books. I think it's a journey that women, especially, of course, men, but it's just a journey. and it's very moving. It's very spiritual. I'm still very excited to see how the story ends in the third book, you know, since we met your special guy in the second book. But it's just a very moving story, and it's a very healing story. And I know a lot of women that need that, because a lot of people have gone through what you go through, but they don't talk about it like you do. So you're amazing.
Thank you. And Nikki.
Okay, first I would say that it's a must read. When I read the first book, I literally was walking through what you were going through. I could see myself sitting there talking to a 5-year-old child. And it was like listening to them tell me what was going on. I did some yelling, I did some crying, but I'm so thankful that you actually gave your testimony, regardless to what people may think, what they may say, the backlash, the judgment. I'm excited about what God has done, what he's doing, and what he's going to do for you. Because you are a very, very special person and a diamond in the rough.
And Corey.
I would say this. I'm just going to just say it like, you know, when I had those books for when they first came out, I had each one when they first came out, and I'm a slow reader. I just read, and because the timing is very limited. But I had an opportunity when I went down to Cancun this past summer. I took both books with me, and I read both books, I think, in 3 days. I just smashed them. I said, and I couldn't wait to get up to go see them. So what I want to say is to people to women who have a male friend or a husband that think they wouldn't be interested in this stuff. No, let them read. This is actually this good writing. The thing that we all on this Zoom call know is that's a real person behind that. But if you were just reading literary context, this is because after every chapter, that's where I got to read one more chapter to see if she gets out of this. Where's she going with this garbage bag and stuff? What's going to happen now? It's something that you have to see. So read, and I said see. You know, who knows in the future, this may be something that we see on the screen one day. But I just want to say this is not just for women, although it is. Yeah, I understand it's a woman who went through it, but men, if you got men that don't know and like to read, give them this book. This is a good read. So good job, Roz. Glad that we could share in this with you.
Thank you, guys. I want to thank each and every one of you guys for being a part of this Zoom. Thank you for being willing to share what you experienced or to ask me these questions. And like we do here, we always do a prayer together. So I would like to pray. Heavenly Father, I thank you for each one that tuned into this Zoom and on YouTube, oh God. I thank you for each and every one for their willingness. I ask that you continue to look over us. I ask that you continue to guide us. I ask that you continue to direct us, oh God. And for each person that tunes into this YouTube, oh God, I ask that you bless them. I ask that you cover them. I ask that you guide them, and I ask that you direct them, oh God. Encamp your angels down around them and allow for them to see you at the end of their tunnel, that they can walk this thing out for you. These and other blessings we pray in your son Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Well, you're welcome and have a great week. I love each and every one of you guys. Have a great week.
Thank you for the invite.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Love you.
Sing it again. Let's go. I don't wanna know. I don't wanna be without you.
Thank you.